What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. The Los Angeles Lakers, in my opinion, got the steal of the draft in Dalton Knecht with the number 17 pick of the 2024 NBA draft. I'm going to talk about why and why this is such a big pickup for the Lakers for next year and the next couple years of the franchise. But first, if you could, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button down below if you do enjoy the content and want to see more NBA and sports content in general going forward. So let's just jump in. Dalton Knecht, projected by most publications and most mock drafts to go for sure top 10, most of them top 7. ESPN, I think, had him at number 6 overall. He ended up sliding all the way down to number 17. He actually didn't even work out for the Los Angeles Lakers because he didn't think that he would slide that fall. No one really did. But it became apparent after a while, as they talked about on the broadcast for the draft, he was sliding not because of any injuries or any, interview off the court stuff, but mainly just sliding because he's 23 years old. And, usually teams and franchises are scared to pick those older players, 22, 23, even if there's a 24, 25-year-old, prospect, franchises are a little scared to make those picks because it's like, how much better is that player going to get? And usually in the draft, you're drafting for potential for the future. Well, here's why I believe that this was really kind of mind-boggling. First off, Dalton Knecht, if you don't know him, Tennessee guard, started his college career all the way back in 2019 at Northeastern Junior College, spent 2 seasons there, then transferred up to the Big Sky at Northern Colorado, played 2 seasons there, and then for his 5th year, transferred to the SEC and Rick Barnes in the Tennessee Volunteers. Had hit a career year there, obviously, and, that's saying something, moving up from, junior college, Big Sky, and the SEC, you had your best season moving up to the toughest competition of those levels that you've played at, and a top 3 conference, top 3 toughest conference in all of major college basketball in the SEC. Okay, we'll give them top 3 or 4, we'll say that. But that's beside the point. He comes in to Tennessee under Rick Barnes, and he averages 22 a game, averages 2 assists a game, 5 rebounds a game, shoots the ball incredibly well, 50% from the field, 40% from 3, 77% from the free throw line, so you can improve that a little bit here. But he comes in consensus first-team All-American, is also the SEC Player of the Year. I understand firsthand, I watched him at the Breslin Center here, Michigan State, in the charity exhibition that Michigan State and Tennessee played before the start of the year for the Maui Fund. He came into the Breslin, and he was getting absolute buckets, and he just continued and did that all year long. Really showed a 3-level scorer. From the three-point line, he can pull up in the mid-range, and we saw some ability to get to the basket as well in his game. Now, what's baffling of all these other teams, passing on him, some of them, I understand why passing them. That he doesn't really fit their timeline. Someone, say like the Spurs, who they're really looking way in the future and like, hey, we think Victor Wembanyama can be one of the best players in this league for a long time, but we know we're not there yet. But we got our centerpiece in Wemby, and we got our point guard in Stephon Castle. We got those 2 guys, got some other nice pieces around. We're going to build around those 2, and, in, say, 2, 3, 4 years from now, really probably like 3 to 4 years, like, hey, we can be one of the, top teams, not just in the West, but in the league. So getting a guy like Dalton Knecht, no, he probably doesn't fit that timeline for them. But some other teams, I thought he should have went number 5 to the Pistons because they do have, yes, they're still young, and yes, they are still very far away from competing, even just in the Eastern Conference, but he's a guy who can go get a bucket. The Detroit Pistons struggle mightily in shooting. Their best player in Cade Cunningham isn't a great shooter either, but he facilitates and does pretty much everything else well on the basketball court for them. You got a Loptart and Jalen Duren. I'm not the biggest Jaden Ivey fan, but I think he's a good 6-man. Personally, I think he's someone who can score the ball, but he's not someone I believe you can win a lot of games with as a starting 2 guard in this league. If you're able to re-sign him, put him at the 2 guard, you get a guy like Dalton Knecht, put him at the 3, 6'6", a little bit smaller for a 3, but he can, 2, 3, wherever you want to throw him in there. And then you have all this cap space. If you want to take a swing for, I know, obviously, especially believe me as a Michigan State fan, I know I'm one of his biggest fans before his legal troubles, but a guy like Miles Bridges, you take a swing on someone like a Miles Bridges. Obviously, that name isn't the name it was a couple years ago prior to all this stuff. we all know that, but you take a swing on a big four in free agency, that's a solid starting lineup that should definitely be completing for, if not the play-in, one of the last secured spots in the playoffs, and a team that should be positioned anywhere from 5th through 8th, in my opinion, that team going into as early as next year. They passed on him, and frankly, as a Lakers fan, someone who can't stand the Pistons, thank you for passing on him. And so the Lakers have one of the best scorers and shooters in this draft fall right into their lap at 17. Now you look at the Lakers. What do they need? What did they need going into this offseason? Shooting. On the roster next year, they'll have, more than likely, unless there's a trade, coming up or involved, they'll have Rui Hachimura. Last year shot 42% from three. Another guy, Austin Reaves, again, assuming he's on the roster, barring any, trade, DeJounte Murray trade, maybe, I don't know. But assuming he's on the roster as well, he shot 37% from three as well. Other guys you got that you thought would, possibly shoot the ball better. You picked up Cam Reddish. You don't know. I think he's probably going to be on the roster next year as well, unless barring another trade. Again, only 34% from three, though, for Cam Reddish last year. Then for the Lakers as well, you had Taurean Prince, who shot about 4 to 5 threes a game. He shot it at a 40% clip. I tell you from someone watching the games, don't believe that was true at all, but that's what the numbers say. But if you even just take Taurean Prince's three-point attempts and slide them over to Dalton Knecht, I think that's a big upgrade. Now, is Dalton Knecht going to be the person that gets the Lakers over the hump and says they're immediately, a top 2-3 favorite in the Western Conference and they should be competing for the NBA championship? No, this is still a very, very flawed roster. I think they got a nice piece in Dalton Knecht. Is he going to start? No. But I think he can fall in through a 7th to 9th man on the bench, come off the bench, get a couple buckets, knock down some threes, and help provide some floor spacing. That's the biggest thing the Lakers need here. Obviously, you have your two centerpieces, Anthony Davis, LeBron James. Now you get a guy, Dalton Knecht, that can fill in right there. If you're able to keep Austin Reaves as well, that's a solid group right there. D'Angelo Russell, kind of doubt he'll be on the roster next year. You got Rui Hachimura as well to throw in there. But we do know that the Lakers are looking to get bigger in the offseason. They're looking to get another starting caliber big. We've heard Jonas Valanciunas' name thrown around there. I'm not the biggest fan of that personally, but if they can get another solid big, so Anthony Davis can play more of that 4 position, I think that'll be big, having LeBron at that 3. If they're able to keep Reaves, have him at the 2, and figure out what you're doing at that point guard position, I'm still in the camp of throw everything you need to at going after DeJounte Murray. And if you're able to keep Reaves in that, I think that's even better. I know I said going into the draft, when JJ Redick was hired a couple days ago when we posted that video, I said I would love to see Austin Reaves as a 6th man. After this draft, and after specifically this Dalton Knecht pick, Bronny James pick, I think we can all agree, probably won't see much time this year, or he's going to take a while to get there if he does pan out in the NBA. I hope he does. I know he's obviously getting a lot of hate, but obviously I hope he does well. He didn't ask for any of this. Still just a 19-year-old kid trying to figure this whole thing out. But if you throw everything you can at DeJounte Murray and you can somehow keep Austin Reaves out of that trade package, I like that. If you can have a starting lineup of DeJounte Murray, Austin Reaves, LeBron, AD, and fill in at the 5, whatever that looks like. Obviously, I think if you go after DeJounte Murray, you're not getting a guy like Jonas Valanciunas. But if you fill that in with someone on the roster, like a Jackson Hayes, if you fill that starting 5 position in there, which I think Jackson Hayes, he's only 24 years old. Like, I think he still has some potential in this league. Or another veteran, center that you can find on the free agency market. I think you're looking really good there. Then you have a shooter in Dalton Knecht coming off the bench. If you're able to retain Max Christie and Jalen Hood-Schifino, I know those are really young guys as well. You'll still need to fill out with some more veterans. Cam Reddish, he'd probably be included in a trade if that happened as well, bringing in DeJounte Murray. But if you still have Rui Hachimura as well, then, possibly you just leave AD at the 5, Rui at the 4, whatever, depending on what you're able to bring in. But there's some, flexibility. And there's some things that the Lakers can do to make this a competitive roster going into next year. But so I know that kind of turned into an overview of the Lakers as a whole going into the offseason and free agency starting this Sunday. But I think this was a big move, and I think that this draft and this draft pick, Dalton Knecht specifically, is going to play big dividends immediately for the Lakers. 23-year-old, been around the block. As we said, Northeastern Junior College, Northern Colorado, Tennessee, SEC Player of the Year, All-American. This is a guy that's been around the block, can step in, can, figure out his role and succeed in that role right away for the Lakers. And given a couple more moves, and granted, yes, it has to be major moves, there's still another piece or two away from, competing Western Conference Finals and Finals. No matter how good Anthony Davis and LeBron James play, and no matter how well Dalton Knecht fills out his role, there's still a couple pieces away. This is still a flawed roster, but with JJ Redick on board, you could tell this is a JJ Redick pick. Apparently, he was already drawing up pin downs and ATOs for him as soon as they were drafting him. So I think that they're going to get the most. JJ is going to get the most out of Dalton Knecht, and I think he's going to thrive on this roster. For them to have the success they want to, though, still a lot of moves to be made. But anyway, that'll do it for this one. We'll have a few more draft breakdowns. I believe we'll have the Warriors draft breakdown, keeping that number 52 pick after originally trading it earlier in the day, buying it back. We'll talk about that, some other storylines of the draft as well in a couple videos. And going into free agency, obviously the end of this weekend and into next week. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.